Welcome back to
Ailani's Little Space World.
Ailani's Little Space World. Today we are going to have a very special video for you guys. We are on our
Ailani's Little World
mission to Europa.
Oh.
Say it again.
We are on our mission to Europa.
Yeah, and we actually have a really special guest with building our rocket today. We're going to be building the best rocket with Kevin J. DeBruin, who is a rocket scientist.
At NASA.
Yeah. Well, now he's no longer with NASA, but he used to be, which is pretty rad. Oh no, Ailani. Some stranded astronauts are on Europa and they need our help.
Let's go save them.
Let's go save them. Sadly, this image is Europa, but it is not to scale. Europa is much bigger and the spaceship would be very little. But I designed it wrong.
Europa really is actually a planet?
Europa is actually a moon near Jupiter. Europa is special because it is covered in ice, all right, which is cool. But under the ice are giant oceans. And
what?
Yeah, they're huge. Now our ocean.
Scientists are gonna be flying over.
Now we want to go there and study the oceans, and we're probably going to send some robot submarines underwater. But we're going to imagine in this video that we're going to go rescue scientists. What's in the future? They're already there.
So they're gonna go over there tomorrow.
That'd be rad. All right. Now to go to Europa, we need to ask some questions. Part one.
What makes a rocket a rocket?
What makes a rocket a rocket? First of all, we need to ask a question. What are the most important parts of a rocket? But I think we have a problem. Hang on. Are you a rocket scientist?
No.
I'm not a rocket scientist. Elvis, are you a rocket scientist?
No.
No, the dog is not a rocket scientist, obviously. But I do know a rocket scientist.
Shall we call him?
I think we should call him.
Kevin, what are the most important parts of the rocket?
Oh, there are so many important parts of a rocket. So I have a pen here. And we're going to act like this is our rocket. Okay, kind of looks like one, right? One of the most important parts of a rocket is what's up on top. So this is called the nose cone. And this is where we put our payload. Now the payload is either people, like me and you, the astronauts going up to space, or some of our spacecrafts. I might have a little spacecraft. I do. It's a little bit bigger than the rocket, but here's our Mars rover. So the Mars rover would be inside that payload up top. And then underneath it, we have the body of the rocket. So this is where we put our fuel. That's another important thing about the rocket, is we need our fuel. So it's like our gas tank is what we put in the long cylindrical part, what we call the body. And then on the bottom here, we have what I don't have on this pen, are fins. It's kind of like wings, but for a rocket. And they help stabilize us as we fly through the atmosphere up into space. And then the really important part, what do you think's on the bottom here? Maybe an engine? So we need a way to power our rocket. Engine with a nozzle. And that is where we create something called thrust, which is the force we need to launch the rocket and go up. So we have our nose cone, our payload, which is what we're bringing to space, people or spacecrafts. Then we have our body with our gas tanks inside, or our fuel. We've got fins for stabilization, the wings of a rocket. And then we have our engine with a nozzle to shoot all of the exhaust out and send our rocket up into outer space.
Now, Nee, what is it?
It is the cone.
Yeah, this is the cone. Now, do you remember what was special about the cone? What goes inside of the cone?
Inside of the cone is where all the astronauts are.
This is right. The astronauts are sometimes a satellite, and this is what Kevin called it. He called it the payload. Can you pay me? That's not funny. You can keep it.
Right, it is.
Now, the payload goes inside the cone. Now, we also have this part. Now, what is it, Nee?
It's the body.
This is the body of our rocket. Now, do you know what is inside the body of the rocket?
Like engines.
Kind of. No, the gas, the fuel. Now, what part of the rocket is this?
What are they?
Now, what part are they, Nee? What do you think these are?
They are the fins.
The fins. These fins keep the rocket from going like this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Because then the astronauts would go nowhere and they would all vomit. Now, what is it?
That is the engine.
Now, this is where the rocket comes out and where the fire is created. Wah! This is what makes the rocket go. Nee, part two.
How do we blast off.
Now, if we want to go rescue those astronauts on Europa, we have to ask the question, how do we blast off? Because, I mean, you can have a rocket, but that doesn't mean you're in space. You're just sitting there looking pretty like this. I'm a rocket.
I don't understand.
I don't understand too.
You should understand you. How do rockets create blast off power?
You know, I have no idea. But do you know who does have an idea? Kevin! And not Kevin from Home Alone. He was naughty. This is the rocket scientist, Kevin.
How do rockets create enough power to blast off into space? Well, you can think of a rocket as just a really well-designed bomb. So basically, it's like a bomb with a certain shape, and we only let the explosion of the bomb come out the bottom through a very special part called the nozzle. So we need a lot of thrust, a lot of force to get off of the surface of Earth. We need to be going about 17,500 miles per hour just to get off the surface of Earth and get into outer space. So we create really big explosions inside of our rocket and we direct them downwards, and all of those explosions keep on burning as it goes up, and that's how we get into space. It's a lot of explosions in a specific direction.
Now, this is our rocket, Nee. It's looking pretty good.
Why is it not pink?
I don't know. It's not pink because it's my rocket that I made, and you know.
It is my world.
This is Ailani's little world, but this is our rocket, and you know, Kevin told us that a rocket launch is essentially a controlled explosion. But you have that nozzle, the rocket at the end, that pushes the explosion down, which pushes the rocket up. Pretty cool.
It's like this. Here, this is the power.
Just like that.
What shape flies the best?
This is a great question. And you know what? I totally know, because I want to know what shape flies the best, because if we go into space and we're on a mission to Europa, I'm going to miss all my stuff. So here's my idea. Let's put our house on top of the rocket. It's a great idea.
No, that is a horrible idea.
Now, why do you think that's a horrible idea?
So the way the rocket will go, the wind, well, it needs to be like kind of like a cone top, so the wind can easily slide through.
Slide past it. Well, you know, I don't know much about that, but you know who does know about that? Kevin! Let's give Kevin a call.
What's the best shape for a rocket?
The best shape for a rocket is the one that we always see that kind of looks like this pen. Now, do an experiment with me. I want to help us all figure out why that is. So on the top, this is the nose cone that we talked about, and it's pointy, right? It's kind of like a cone. It's got a little point. So I want you to put your hand out like this. All right. And I want you to move it back and forth really quickly. And then stop. Now turn it up and down and move it back and forth really quickly. And stop.
So much wind! Want to try the other way?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
It's like,
It's so easy to do that. Hey, boys and girls, you should try it too. Let's try two hands. It's so hard. Now this way. So easy.
so easy.
Aerodynamics. Thanks, Kevin.
Did you feel more air on one of them? On this one or this one on your hand? Yeah, we felt more air on this one because there's more surface area. So there's more of your hand. So if our rocket looked like this water bottle going up, then all of the air is pushing on this, which is like our hand like this. But if we use a point, that's when our hand is like this. So there's less parts of the rocket that see the air as it goes through, so it can shoot through the atmosphere. And we have less air resistance, or what we call drag, on the very tip point of our rocket. We call it aerodynamics. That's why cars are shaped a certain way, airplanes are shaped a certain way, and then that nose cone comes up to a point instead of a flat nose up on top.
Ailani, do you think our house has good aerodynamics?
No.
So we probably can't put our house on top of the rocket.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah, so maybe this
Cone?
would be better? A cone?
Yeah.
I think a cone probably would fly.
Perfect.
Probably fly a little bit better. Just like that.
Part 4. Keeping astronauts safe.
How do we keep astronauts safe? I mean, like, if you put them in there, do we just like throw them in and say, good luck, have fun standing up as the rocket takes off? And they go, that might be a bad idea. So, do you know how we keep astronauts safe?
Maybe there's a type of chair that's like laying down.
I don't know.
So the pressure like push up. So like the pressure is like pushing on your chest downwards, so you don't like blah blah.
That actually makes a lot of sense. But do you know what? I think we should ask an expert, because I think that we should have the astronauts standing up, because I mean it's just like this, and you're powerful when you stand up.
No, not when you're in space.
Well, let's take a look and ask Kevin.
How do astronauts stay safe in rockets?
All right, how do we protect our friends here, the astronauts? So in that nose cone up top, there's a couple different ways that we protect our astronauts. One way is they sit like this. So we strap them in, their legs are bent up. So they sit like this because all of the force is coming down. So it's easier to have force if you're sitting on something, like on a roller coaster, rather than if you're standing up. So when we're launching rockets, we're like basically laying down, we're seated, and as we go up, we have support. So it supports the whole astronaut body so that our bones and our muscles all have something to rest against instead of being standing straight up. The other thing we have is we have abort systems. So if something were to happen with our rocket, the top part with the payload will shoot off and then fly away separately as our rocket then veers off course, something goes wrong, and then parachutes come out and our astronauts can safely land back on Earth. So we have a way to abort. It's like an ejection seat. If you've seen those maybe in fighter pilot airplanes, or maybe some movies where they like shoot people out of cars. So we have a little ejection seat basically where the whole top part comes off and then flies away from the rocket and brings it back down. And we're also constantly talking to people on Earth. So they've got headsets in so that they can talk to people on Earth and figure out, are things going? Are they going well? Is there a problem? Is there anything they can do to fix it? Or do we gotta get out of there and abort?
Oh man, you're right. Astronauts cannot stand up when they go into space, and they have to lay backwards. And Kevin said there was also an abort sequence. So like if the rocket launch isn't going well, it can pop the top off and there's a parachute so it falls back to Earth. Very, very gently. No, not like that. That would be not fun. Very gently, and it would keep the astronauts safe. Well, I'm glad that we talked to Kevin. Also, we can't sit up. We have to sit on our back.
Wow.
No, not like that. You sit on your back, you're gonna fall down and bump your head.
Yeah, like sitting down.
Kind of, but not really. All right.
Part 5. What fuel do we need?
This is a great question. I think that we need to go to the gas station because I read that gas station gas is very good. You know, you put it into my bike or my car and then it makes my car drive.
No.
Why not?
That is they said what type? The type.
No, so maybe there's a different type of fuel that
There's a really special one.
Interesting.
We can't use gas station gas, Dad.
Okay, well, I think we need to talk to someone about what kind of fuel we can
And
use.
his name is...
Mr. Kevin,
Yes.
Super Kevin, can you ask Kevin this question?
What kind of fuel do rockets use?
Rocket fuel is very special because it gives us enough oomph. We need to create really big explosions to get all that force to get up into outer space. So regular gas doesn't give us enough of the energy that we need to go up into space. Now, there are a couple different types of rocket fuel. Some of them are solids. We have solid, liquid, and gas. Like water can be frozen in ice, it can be liquid in a lake, or it can be like humidity, water vapor in the air. So we have fuel that is solid, which means as soon as we light it, it continues to burn and we can't control it. That's okay, as long as we've designed it the right way. The other type of fuel we have is liquid, where we actually mix two things together. So we have liquid over here, and they come down pipes, and then they come together. And when they come together, there's a giant reaction or an explosion that then we shoot down the bottom of the rocket. So basically, regular gasoline isn't combustible enough. It doesn't give us enough oomph, enough boom for our explosion of our rocket to get us into outer space. So we need something more powerful to launch us off the surface of Earth.
So rockets can use a solid fuel and a liquid fuel, but like the liquid, they have to mix them together, which is really interesting because
Kind of like.
it's why Kevin said is that solid fuel can be really powerful, but once you light it, you can't stop it. It just burns the whole thing. But a liquid fuel, you can kind of control as it comes out. So, we'll have to decide what kind of fuel we want to use in our rocket. Which one do you want to use, Nee?
I want to use this one. Totally not the gas station one, okay?
All right, so we'll go ahead and use a liquid fuel for our rocket.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin, for that great information.
Part 6. How do we get back?
This is a good question. I think we can just take a taxi back. We just go to Europa and...
I don't know. I think that's gonna happen in the future, but
Not now.
not now.
Well, how do rockets land back on Earth? That is a really good question, and there's only one person that I know that can answer that question.
It is Mr. Scientist Kevin.
Great question. How do rockets land safely on Earth, or do they stay in space? We do a couple different things. So we're gonna go back to our rocket here. So we talked about that top part, right? Where just in case anything goes wrong, there's an abort. So once we get into space, this actually does its own separation. So we don't call it abort because we're in space and we use something else to separate our astronauts or our payload, our spacecraft from the top. And this rocket will either fall off into space and just keep on falling. It may fall back to Earth. And then this part keeps on going up. Now, if this part, our body of the rocket with our engines, our fins, and our nozzle falls back to Earth, it may have parachutes that come up the top and slowly bring its way back down and then land in the ocean. Probably, we don't really land them on land. Or something new that's been happening in the last couple of years is the rocket will fall back to Earth and then the engines will start up again and it will actually land itself coming down and then land straight up. We do this on land and we also do this on a drone ship or think of it as just a boat out in the ocean. So about the rocket body, no more people or astronauts or spacecraft on top will land on the boat and then we can reuse this part. Now, what about those astronauts coming back, right? So we have this. This is what will come back. So we'll go into space in this, and then this will come back into Earth. So we have to enter our atmosphere at a certain angle so we don't skip off it and fly out into space. So this will come back into Earth and then go really, really fast. There'll be a bunch of fire that's on the end because it's going so fast. And then it'll flip over and parachutes will come out the top. And it will come down and it'll either land on land or it'll land in water. And then we have boats that go out and rescue the astronauts from the capsule that is now back on Earth.
See some videos where the top of the cone was gonna separate and goodbye friend.
Interesting. And
Parachute, earlier we were talking about that parachute.
there we go. Well, that is what Kevin said. Kevin did say that the rocket will separate into two pieces. Once it gets up into the air, the cone pops off, and then the body of the rocket can come back to Earth. Now, normally it can fall with some parachutes and then land in the ocean or something, but now they have another way where it lands on a launch pad, which is pretty cool.
What happens if the body separates and doesn't go back to?
Well, I heard that there is some space debris that still sits out into space, but most of the time it does fall back to the Earth because of gravity.
Gravity, that's why, what is his name, Newton?
Isaac Newton discovered gravity when an apple fell on his head and he went
What happens if someone catch the apple? Then fish would be flying in the air.
No, gravity would still exist. All right. Now, let's keep going to our next one. Now, when the rocket separates and the capsule comes back to Earth, it comes back into the atmosphere, like Kevin said, but then it has to slow down with parachutes.
Parachute, it's like a really big one.
Giant
It
parachutes.
has to be big so you can
Now there are some rockets that will land on a drone ship in the ocean. Can you see that one landing right there?
it's kind of like on fire.
That's a rocket, and it fires the engine so it doesn't crash.
So like the platform of the ship should be like fire resistant.
It totally is fire resistant. That is important.
Part 7, what to avoid.
Yeah, part 7, what to avoid. Now, I'm kind of worried about making some mistakes. I mean, we haven't really built a rocket before.
Yeah.
I baked a cake. I made some bread.
Have you ever actually like baked a cake yet?
Yes, I have. It was delicious. Looked ugly.
Oh yeah, like the chocolate chip cookie.
Well, I did that too. But, I think a rocket might be
A more
a little bit harder.
Not way more, like twice.
I think it might be more than twice.
100% harder.
Like
Of
probably 1,000,000% harder.
a
Like
trillion.
super duper harder.
Infinity.
So we should probably ask someone.
That's named Mr. Kevin, the scientist of space.
He's a rocket scientist, not the scientist of space.
Hey Kevin, what mistakes should we avoid?
If you and your dad are designing a rocket, the biggest mistake to avoid is make sure that the pointy end is pointed up, right? We don't want it like this. And the reason I say that is because we had a rocket like this when we were first testing rockets, but something inside was installed upside down. So the rocket wasn't able to go anywhere because it thought that it was pointed this way. So even the NASA rocket scientists and engineers, we make mistakes sometimes too. And that's okay. We just have to learn from our mistakes. So we always want to make sure that the pointy end is up.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if our rocket is pointed down, it's not gonna go up. You know what I mean?
It's gonna go down into the Earth's crust.
It could, but it probably would just get stopped by the Earth's crust. So we need to fix our rocket. Here's our rocket.
Daddy, I got an idea.
Oh yeah? What should we do, Nee?
We should put a giant arrow on our rocket.
Ha! Like that one, you did it. That is an amazing arrow on our rocket. And now I think we know which way is up. The arrow is
Pointing
up.
up. Ooh.
Just like that.
Part 8, the coolest rocket.
Part 8, the coolest rocket. Now, I know the coolest rocket in the world. Our rocket.
It's not.
It hasn't been to space yet, though.
Yeah. So there has to be another one.
We should probably ask the only person here in our group who's actually built a rocket, named
Kevin. Hey Kevin, what's the coolest rocket ever?
I think the coolest rocket ever built is called the Saturn V. This is the rocket that took our Apollo astronauts to the moon 50, 60 years ago. Now, the rocket isn't around anymore, but it was the most powerful rocket ever built because you need to be going a certain speed, have enough oomph, enough boom to get off the surface of Earth and go into orbit around Earth. But you need even more power, more energy to leave the orbit of Earth and go out to the moon. So we need a bigger, stronger rocket to get us over there. And the Saturn V is the only rocket so far that has brought humans all the way out to the moon. And that's why I think it's the coolest one ever built. If you want to, you can go to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and they have one. It's not in use anymore, of course, and it's on its side. and it's laid down. So you're able to be next to it and see just how big and how long it is. And you look at it and you're like, that's a skyscraper. That's an extremely tall building. And we sent that into space. And it's a very cool thing to see. So the Saturn V rocket, coolest, most powerful rocket ever built.
The Saturn V sounds like an awesome rocket, and it went to space. Not just that, it went to the moon. It took astronauts to the moon, which our rocket has not had done. But we need to make our rocket pretty cool too. Ailani, what could we do to our rocket to make it?
Put my name of the channel on it.
You're gonna put the name of the channel like...
And boom, it's on.
Ailani, you put fuzzy letters on the side of our rocket?
Yes. It has to be very nice.
Well, it is definitely...
Very nice, I know.
It's special. We have fuzzy letters and an arrow. I'm down.
Part 9, can kids build rockets?
This is an excellent question. Can kids help build rockets? And you know what? I think the answer is no. Kids are not that smart. And most of the kids I know are a little bit...
Yes, they can help.
Well, you know what? I think we should ask someone named Kevin if that's true. Kevin, can you answer? I don't think kids can build rockets.
No.
I think
You haven't
I think they're a little bit too dumb.
When you were a kid, you were also dumb, right?
I was a nerd.
Yeah, you gotta show that like picture. He had fuzzy hair, headphones, and glasses, and like this. And he said that a girl hit him in the head because she liked him, but I don't know how.
Yeah, well, you know what, Nate? There's just one thing I have to say to that.
Can kids help build rockets?
100%. I need kids like you to grow up and help me build rockets, right? We get old, right? I need new fresh blood. I need new minds, new perspectives. You're gonna think of something that I'm not gonna think of. We have different life experiences. There's gonna be new things. And we kind of get stuck in ways where it's like, oh, we know that this way works. This is how we've always done it. So we feel safe and secure. There's less risk. So we might not think of some of the cool, creative, innovative ideas that you have coming at it with a fresh set of eyes. And one way that you can start is I actually have online space lessons for all kids that want to get interested in space exploration. And it's called Space Class. So virtualspaceclass.com, I have lessons on rockets and rovers and even space submarines. Yes, we haven't sent a submarine in space yet, but we are testing them on Earth because there are oceans in space and we want to explore those oceans one day. So you can check that out at virtualspaceclass.com. And there are so many amazing resources on YouTube, on the internet with Instagram and NASA and SpaceX. All of these companies post a lot of content out there, a lot of information. So you just gotta get online and start learning.
Well, it seems that he says they can. So Ailani, should we go on to the next step of building our rocket? I think it's ready to go to space. Let's launch it now.
No.
Why not?
We need to test our rocket.
This is probably a good idea, especially if we're going to be riding in it. And Kevin said that a rocket is essentially a giant bomb. We should probably be careful.
Part 10, how to test a rocket.
Part 10, how to test a rocket. Now, how do we test our rocket? I think that we just need to get into it and go to space. That's testing it.
No!
Well, do you know how to test a rocket?
Let's just ask Kevin. Hey Kevin, how do we test our rocket?
If you want to launch your own rocket, my recommendation to test it before taking off is to test the different parts of it. So when you're building a rocket, there's many different parts. So we need to make sure that each of our individual parts work before we put them all together. And that's how we do it at NASA too. So you're gonna wanna test things in the engine. So you might mount the engine to something that's really stable here on Earth and then fire the engine to make sure it fires the right way before you actually put everything else together. You're also probably going to be communicating with the rocket. It might be sending a signal telling you how high it is. You're going to want to turn both of those things on, the thing on the rocket and probably the app on your phone that tells you to make sure that they're communicating correctly. So we like to test all of the individual pieces before we put it all together. So I would say test each part of your rocket to make sure it's working first before you put it all together, and then cross your fingers and push the launch button. And if nothing happens, well, then you got to figure out what went wrong.
All right, so we got to test our rocket one piece at a time. Let us test the cone. Nee, can you test it? What does the computer say, Nee?
It says that it is correct.
All right, we should test the body. Let me try this. What does it say?
It says that it is correct.
That's great. Let's test the fins. What does it say, Nee? You're just beeping. It's a real computer, guys. Stop judging us. It's a computer. Let's test the last part, Nee. It's real. Does it say it's correct?
It says it's green, and I were correct. So it is correct.
That means we can go to space.
Let's go, bro.
All right. Mission Europa launch time.
Let it go.
All right, now we are on our way to Europa, and we are so glad that you guys joined us and Kevin for an awesome adventure.
Want to build your own rocket?
If you want to build your own rocket, go and check out www.virtualspaceclass.com with Kevin. You can also go to his website at www.kevinjdebruin.com. And he also has a really great book at www.stemprosbook.com. That was the hardest part of this video. I'm not good at reading websites. Nee, did you like building a rocket today?
Of course, I loved it.
And we hope you guys had fun. We'll see you for our next adventure at
Bing, bing.
Ailani's Little World.
Be sure to like and subscribe. Pew, pew, pew.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.